No morro, o samba no morro é fogueira, o samba que traz liberdade, o samba da nossa bandeira, o samba que traz liberdade, o samba da nossa bandeira.
Pensei na Kimbundu, assim que compromisso, construí a voada, fui muito em vela, quase morri sem causa, não posso a filha rainha, eu já quero.
Spiritual, cultural, and physical, they all play a huge role on the dance. Before you learn any steps, before you learn any ginga, before you learn anything, you really need to learn how to connect. Many times, the way you connect, it's really influenced by the society where you were raised. People from certain cultures, giving a hug, kissing, it's our norm, how we introduce ourselves. People from other cultures, shaking hands, tapping, or side hug, it's also a norm. These different ways of greeting each other will very much influence the way you dance.
Growing up in the South, in the Southern US, getting that close to a stranger is not common. You would typically not do a dance like this in the South for most people. And so I think I carried that with me when I came into this dance. And it was a real fear, that maybe I was doing something I shouldn't.
That's why I was intimidated at first. It was like, ooh, do I want to give the wrong signals? I don't want people to misinterpret what I'm saying if I get too close. I mean, I started with salsa and I started with Cuban salsa, so we always had our space. And then I'm at this one and he's like, oh, there's no space involved in this dance. And it was intimidating, I have to admit, in a way. But it's also because of the stigma that came with Kizomba. At the time, I was told that this is the most sensual dance in the world and you're going to be learning it at such a close proximity, and that scared the crap out of me. I was like, no, I don't know you, you don't get in my space.
Girl, you were meant to be mine.
We had to change that perception because dance is not about sexuality or sensuality in essence. It's about connection.
The connection doesn't mean just body connection. It means you have to be connected with music, the culture, the family, or Angolan say malambas da vida. That means, you know, all the things happen in life, like I had in my past. All those things have to be connected because it's a storyline. Has to come from my grandma, my grandma. So therefore, people can see what we've been through, and also we can carry the culture side of it to everyone. So therefore we connect not just body, but we connect with the story, we connect with the music, we connect with the dance, and we connect with the culture.
You're gonna embrace someone and you will share a moment, and this moment can heal you. Okay? This is what Kizomba really means. For Angolans, it's about surviving. It's about laughing when you're crying. It's about it's a hug that will give you strength even when you're falling. You know, we were at war and Kizomba gave message of love and peace after Semba gave the message of revolution and fight. So when you dance Kizomba, bombs are exploding elsewhere, but in your backyard you're dancing, you're trying to forget. It's not like you're happy, no. That's what you do. You can't change the way things are, so you dance.
Kizomba has helped me be closer to people, not only inside the dance, but outside the dance as well. As a matter of fact, I've grown so accustomed to hugging people that I'll find myself in a business situation and my first reaction is to hug the person that I know. And they're not going to expect that. That will not be appropriate. And I have to catch myself because that's my first reaction now. Certainly, I think that it's helped me with my brothers and sisters and the way I interact with them, with my own mother and father. because, I come from a pretty conservative place, and there's not a whole lot of physical interaction like that, at least in that way. So yeah, it's been pretty profound.
Maybe I think just to close out, one thing that I wanted to say is, for all the people who love it so much and sometimes wonder, hey, how can I be respectful to this culture that gave me so much, that makes me so happy when I'm sad, or that gave me the opportunity to travel, or gave me the opportunity to create a dance community that I didn't have before, or gave me the opportunity to make friends that I didn't know was possible to have, or show me a side of me being extrovert, which I wasn't aware that I had that ability, right? And sometimes people wonder. So I actually have an article on the University of Kizomba. The title is Ways to Honor the Kizomba Culture, and you have 10 points there. So it's been shared almost 500 times. It's probably the most well-read and most popular article on the page. So I encourage you guys who have that sort of interest and feel like you can do more and you can educate people, because to some extent all of you guys are ambassadors as well. So if you feel like you want to educate people, point out to that thing and just start conversations, because sometimes when you don't come from this background, when you don't truly understand what Angolans went through before independence, what Angola went through after independence. So we had war before independence to become independent from Portugal, and then we had a civil war for almost 30 years, arguably one of the top 3 longest civil war in entire mankind history, right? So a lot of grief, a lot of healing went through these people via Kizomba, right? And music and dancing. So sometimes when you see people from the culture getting very defensive or getting very aggravated when somebody is vilipending their culture, is precisely because there's a huge history behind it. There's grief behind it, there's human loss behind it. There's also a lot of healing, there's catharsis, social collective catharsis behind it. So be mindful of that. There are 10 points. The only one that for me is the one that I want to stress, taking into account the time, is if you truly respect, especially for African people or people of African descent or African diaspora, if you truly respect Kizomba, you should never call it Kiz. You should never call it Kiz. If it's Kizomba, you call it Kizomba, because you don't shorten salsa to sal, you don't shorten bachata to back, you don't shorten tango to tan, because all these dances have their own history, have their own. You can trace down the origins of these words. It's the same thing with Kizomba. So be mindful of that. When you call Kiz today, who knows, when you say Kizomba, you can actually trace and connect it to Angola. You can connect to its roots. The word is part of a vocabulary of a full-blown language called Kimbundu. It means party. I should have said this at the beginning. But anyway, it means party. It means get together, to socialize, to have a good time. Okay? And it's not necessarily party in the sense of connecting the speakers and bringing the DJ. No, it's partying in the true African sense. So when you shorten that word, then you start saying Kiz because it's more convenient, or you use less air to breathe when you say the word, or because you're lazy to write 4 more letters, right? So what you do is you ignoring all that history that is behind the dance, ignoring all that history that is behind the people who gave birth to this music and to this dance that you love so much. So that's the only, and this is one of the 10 points in the article. So that's the one I really want to emphasize, because especially for folks of African descent, we know that a lot of times our stuff is stolen, and once it becomes Eurocentric, once it becomes mainstream in European culture or Western culture, what happens? A lot of its history gets lost. And if you start calling Kiz and it eventually becomes mainstream Kiz, a lot of people are going to say, hold on a second, excuse me. this is not from Angola. We started calling Kiz, so this is ours. And we're going to copyright the word Kiz. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody's already tried to do that. So be mindful, because the origin of the word, the etymology of the word, the essence of the word should be preserved at all times. Because that's how things get lost. That's how African culture gets lost. That's how the forms of African things eventually become owned by somebody else or by something else, because we don't make the effort ourselves to preserve it.
Yala gabano di kunda, when eu solta o epechinchilaje, ona wasande di dudiaji, uka watondo mugu solta maina, kikalu dieza ni musolo, yene diaja tebe bushunga, omona wachindilita, se mugu kayela maina, omona wachindilita, se mugu kayela maina. Yala kyasumbuka kusalu, sanga di batalia mwangana. Yala kyasumbuka kusalu, sanga di batalia mwangana. Wakelo dikanda die monso weshine kusota mwetu wa yu. Kyakakulo metupe kuhama, wamono mone wadi kutuna. Omona washimbilila, semungu kayela maya. Usanga di batalia mwangana, yala kyasumbuka kusalu. Usanga di batalia mwangana, watelo likanda ye monzo weshinde kusota mwezi wayi. Kyakakulo mesupe kuhama, wamono mone wali kununa. Ngongo wasisomona mdirata wa musota nzila ja akibana.
Shingash. okina kilambo koti kumbi ngikaka mi kwa kubata diami lelu kini kinga kulu